If you clicked on this video in hopes to have some clarity of which 85mm lens to choose, well, I have some bad news for you, my friend, because another company, 7artisans, has just joined the race to deliver one of the most popular focal length primes. But there are a couple of things I think you should know before we look how great or not so great this lens is in this not so usual lens review video. First, you should know it's only their second autofocus full frame lens. I reviewed their 50mm lens a few weeks ago, which means they are not as experienced as Sony or Sigma making autofocus lenses. Second, 7artisans, just like Yongnuo, who also recently released their new version of 85mm full frame, is a budget Chinese lens manufacturer. But what does it mean for you? Does it mean you shouldn't look their way and just go full native? Well, it's hard not to look at them when the cost is $299. And I want you to remember the price throughout this video because everything is relative to the price. Anyways, I don't want to get too philosophical here. I want to hopefully help you decide if it's worth spending $299 or it's better to just add a bit more for Sony or get the Yongnuo instead. And to do that, I actually have the 7artisans here, the Yongnuo, as well as the Sony 85mm primes. And let's start with the 7artisans itself. To increase the competitiveness, these budget lens brands often try to have the best build quality, but I feel it sometimes lacks the quality control. I'm honestly so sad to see them putting money towards, good materials, while, for example, this lens hood rattles because it doesn't fit tightly. And essentially, this, in my opinion, is the risk of these lenses. Some copies might be great, but some not so much. And if you watched my 50mm lens review, the only thing I didn't like about it was the AF-MS switch, which felt too loose. Do we have improvement on the 85? Not yet. Okay, Toms, but the lens is not that bad. Remember, it costs sub $300. Right, it's not that bad. And actually, I find it quite good from the build quality perspective. What sets 7artisans apart is that it has one more feature compared to the other two, and that is the aperture ring. Unfortunately, it falls a bit short as it doesn't have it clicked or declicked. What else? It has an autofocus manual focus switch, a focus ring with a really nice resistance. It's not so easy to turn, which I really like. It has good balance on the camera and no weather sealing gaskets. Should we expect more features and better build quality? Perhaps not, because then the price would change. Anyways, this is primarily a portrait lens, and I took a couple of photos in this lovely private event at sunset hours. General real-life usage feeling? Great. Autofocus worked great, lens didn't make too many funny noises, I did a lot of backlight shots and flaring and all that. I would not say it was controlled, but it gave a very nice look. Overall, super pleased with how the photos looked, and lens gave no problems whatsoever. But should we put it under a microscope a little? Here it goes. Sharpness, when pixel peeping, wide open at F1.8. I don't have too good news for you guys. Looks a bit mushy, and the corners, kind of worse. Let's check this one. Here's a f3.5, much clearer. Let's take this grass example. Here is f1.8, f2.8, and f4. f4 is definitely a lot sharper, but not the sharpest lens I've seen. Corners, even at f4, not too promising. Compared to Yongnuo, I think 7artisan honestly loses. I did a comparison video between the Yongnuo and Sony 85mm f1.8 lens and concluded that they both are pretty sharp and quite equal, which was really surprising given that the Yongnuo is much cheaper. Where Sony performed better was in corners and in autofocus performance. Returning to 7artisan's lens, things like chromatic aberration and fringing was not too prominent in my real life tests. push the limits with this test. There is a tiny bit of it, but in my opinion, significantly less than Sony's and Yongnuo's. So regarding the flaring when doing those backlight shots, there was quite a bit of it, but as I said, seemed like a nice effect. I'm not sure if it's something everyone would be looking for. Certainly could find an angle where really bright light would come in, like in this example, but when doing the classical test, you know, well, this is how it looked like. I mean, you can see these rings here. So yeah, it could have been better. Vignette, a bit, nothing that can be corrected. But remember, there are no lens correction profiles available in Lightroom. If you're really lazy, and I do not recommend doing it because the results won't be perfect, you can just use Sony's 85mm profile. Now, Yongnuo 85mm lens was, you know, beating the Sony in a lot of aspects except the autofocus, which was not at all reliable. I pushed this lens autofocus also just as I do with others. Fast walk towards the lens, couple of spins and whatnot. I will remind you, the green square indicates that the camera has acquired focus. If you don't see the green square, that shot is missed. Funny thing is that when I asked the model to simply walk towards the camera while I focus without doing burst, the focus was perfectly on point. But when I would do a burst shoot, the lens just loses the track after a couple of shots. I tried to shoot on high as well as medium, same result. And I'm not sure if it's because it's not native lens or what, because the results were the same for the Yongnuo, but really good with the Sony lens. I want to note though that in real life scenario, I never felt like autofocus is hunting or being unreliable until I actually started looking closer and analyzing these shots, like here with the dog. The dog was just sitting. I noticed that there are quite a few where the focus was just, you know, somewhere else. But not so many though, maybe 1 in like 20 shots. All right, so given all of that info, I came up with like 3 scenarios to help you decide if it's worth getting this lens or not. Scenario number 1, you just want to do casual shoots, family, friends, vacations. I would say don't think too much, get it, or, you know, consider the Yongnuo. It's roughly the same price, but this lens has more on-lens features. Number 2, are you a pixel peeper and really demanding of your gear? I would say a no-go. Sony will be more reliable and Yongnuo will provide the most sharpness per dollar. 3, are you a professional who does paid model work or portrait photo sessions? Then I would say I wouldn't recommend any of the 3 lenses because, you know, you need a different class such as like Sigma 85mm f1.4 art lineup or the Sony's 85mm f1.4 G Master. You see guys, I told you I have bad news for you. It's very confusing and nothing is really perfect. But then again, think of what this lens is really gonna be used for and if it fits you. Figure out if you can live with those couple of downsides, because remember, $299. Let me know what you think of this kind of review. I hope it was not too critical. Give some love to the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Keep on creating, guys.